Hey everyone, it's been a while since my last review. Units were boring. I had a lot of things to do, especially with my thesis, so I just didn't make it. But we're back. I should have things sorted out by now. And we are resuming with the Final Fantasy I banner with the Fledgling Warrior, or Warrior of Light, as he shall be called henceforth. The description below the like button also already spoils what you can expect. I put down the verdicts for Mont, Laguna, and Kiros and Ward at the end of the video, so it's basically 4 birds with 1 stone in this video. So let's get started with Warrior of Light. In base form, he's a physical tank. In Brave Shift, it's a trance shift, sadly. He's a better physical tank. And I'm pointing out 2 of the most prominent abilities here. One, it's his 10 turn cooldown, available on turn 1, which is just your basic lightning, wind, light, dark. Element resistance to the party, 100% might come in handy. And the other one is the actual kicker, which is his 4 turn cooldown ability, which only is available on turn 4 unless you speed things up with Roka. And it's a 30% not 30%, 30x increase modifier to limit bursts. It's physical LBs, magic stacking LBs, such as Angela for example, physical with death scaling, magic with spirit scaling, and physical damage with stacking mechanics. Now, I tested this before I made this review, and I also got confirmation from Uwe Bonnick on the Discord server. This physical increase with consecutive stuff does not work on units with morale scaling. So units such as Sky or Freyevia that is, they do not benefit from this, especially, or I should say the morale part does not benefit from this. So Sky cannot double dip on this, sadly. It's wasted potential. And from what I've heard from Sinsar is that the upcoming Neovision Premium Titus, who has a 100x increase to limit bursts, works very similar to this, or the coding is very similar to this. So there might be another case where it's not going to apply to Sky, and that's making me sad because this cooldown is technically super good. Very important to note is that there is a caveat to this ability, and as you can see at the bottom it says 15x increase to abilities that have a defense or magic abilities with a spirit ignore part, meaning units such as Squall or Titus, they don't get the full 30x or 60x because double dipping and so and such. Effect of this, Ibarra for example also doesn't get the double dip effect of this, who has spirit ignore on her brave shifted limit burst for example. So for Titus for example and Squall, it's just a 30x increase because it still double dips but only 15x each. But I mean, if you're using Fledgling Warrior / Warrior of Light, it's still a decent thing next to Jarvis' Spirit for example. But question is, are you ever going to use Warrior of Light in a team? The other abilities of his aren't really much noteworthy, to be honest. He's got the standard stuff. He's got a bad cover mechanic or cover buff, 230 stat increase, which is basically nothing at this point. The rest of it fairly standard, 50 physical mitigation, general mitigation as well, 65 to 80% cover mitigation. It's random as always, so nothing to really get surprised here. In base form, has absolute Murph equity chain, 64x with def scaling, 75 general mid. It's just, yeah, it's decent. I mean, what else am I gonna say? What I do like though, and it's at the bottom of the left hand side, is his innate double guts. Well, innate I say if you have STMR or STMR equipped, that is. But one activates at 5% or above with a 1% HP lock, which I really like. So if the very last hit of a boss's hit would otherwise kill him, he still survives with 1% HP, granted he is at 5% or above when it happens. I like these things. Like Shadow Lord, yeah, that's his name, has 3 of this with 3 very different increments of HP locks. That's really cool. I like HP lock mechanics on tanks. Just a safety net, but if the boss does just continuous stuff, it's just but yeah, it's a good thing. And then there's still the regular guts, which activates twice, and it's above 30%. Technically speaking, if you also equip things such as Aurora Boon, it's a 1% activation. Materia, for example, you have 4 sources of guts, which is kind of crazy if you're asking me. But I mean, having 3 is already pretty good. Right hand side, most of this is the brave shifted stuff. And here the Grandis really shines. It's sadly a 1-use per battle thing, but it's 99% damage mitigation. Now, for the most part, you will never really make use of it because there is no boss, at least to my knowledge, who has that once in a lifetime single super burst ability. So it's nice to have, but probably not much usage. I mean, you will use it, of course, but there is no real huge benefit outside its regular tanking stuff. On the other hand, I may be so wrong when the next Clash boss arrives next week, and there is that one turn where we really need super omega high mitigation. I mean, this comes in handy, right? And otherwise, the brave shifted stuff is the regular things. To note, he has auto cover to start off the battle, which is nice if you start him in brave shift, that is. And what I do like is that he has 5x innate cap and rather easily gears for 400% true single wield defense, meaning with or without a shield. The limit bursts, base form limit burst, 135x, defense scaling, 24 hits, trash, right? There's nothing to really talk about here. It's outdated. 70% general mitigation, less than what his base ability does, for example, or brave shift ability does. Nothing really good other than the typed mitigation, aquatics, demons, dragons, and reapers, 75% for all allies. But it gets better on the brave shifted limit burst, which is a 180x defense scaling hit, 7 hits too. It's an 89% attack break, might come in handy. 85% magic break as well. And yeah, otherwise all else is retained. I do like the brave shift the limit burst, even though it's very low modifier. You can up this to 210, but even then, Let's check out the TMR, STMR, and Vision card. The TMR is a basic copy from that Final Fantasy VIII event. It just dumped down to Final Fantasy I units this time, 500 static attack or defense, and 50% killers to all racers. The Super Trustmaster is a heavy armor piece, 800 base or 800 HP, 50 attack, 100 defense, 50 spirits, so all the good stuff basically. It also casually provides 100% HP. Physical tanks only gain 500 static defense, and physical tanks also gain 75% demon and reaper killer physical magical. It's good for the damaging type of tanks. However, neither Mont nor Warrior of Light are super high in damage. Spoiler, I know. And Esther has no tanking icon in base form, meaning she can't make use of this, sadly. The Vision card, it's your typical trash tier. I shouldn't say typical trash tier because this one is actually half decent, but it's still kind of underwhelming. It's 100 defense base stat, it's 1000 HP base. And what I do like is the guts effect. It's rather unique for the regular numbered Final Fantasy non-premium cards, but it's still kind of eh. Then there is 500 static HP and 300 static defense at level 7. And this is also, by the way, physical tank only already. And at level 10, physical tanks only gain 100% demon killer, physical and magical. So all in all, the TMR is a letdown for non-FF1 units. For FF1 units, though, it's very, very good. The Super Trustmaster, very good for DPS tanks and physical tanks in general. And the Vision card is an excellent tanking card. Still, nonetheless, even though I am kind of disappointed by the 100 defense, last week's global exclusive card in that department with 110 is a little bit better, but it does different things basically. So hard to compare apples and oranges. It's dependent on the use case. So let's check out the damage calculation. If I was too fast, just pause the video, honestly. As always, nothing changed from the last weeks or months. So this is the build. Now keep in mind, the Warrior of Light isn't using Esters. Vision card, it's just that Proof of Resolution and Resolve, which is the better DPSing card in this case. For tanks, is the better choice. The reason why I picked Esther's one, it has the same amount of defense, and I calculated the rest. All I wanted was really the defense value. You have to add 500 static defense because that's what the resolution card does. And if you're missing out on the 6x cap here, that's also on the Proof of Resolution card. So it does a lot of things, like I mentioned, for DPSing tanks. The global exclusive card you're seeing here on display is the better one. For tanking purposes, you would rather pick his own card. And here's the damage breakdown. I also included King of Leonis Mont in this. If you want to check out his gear, make sure to check my DPS spreadsheet. As you can see, there's already a link embedded into this sheet that leads you towards the builder. And yeah, as you can see, Mont sims a little bit higher than Warrior of Light, but neither of them really do or deal much damage. They're both about 40 to 30% of Knights of Grandshield, so nothing to really call home about, but both of them are tanks, so DPS isn't their primary role. So all in all, I would say it's nice chip damage. However, in the case of King of Leonis Mont, he's technically the stronger tank in terms of DPS, but in terms of survivability, he is rather weak. We'll talk about that in a minute though. So yeah, the main selling point for Warrior of Light is that he serves as a buffer for all other LB finishers / LB chainers. Then there is the second DPS comparison for Laguna and Kiros and Ward. So Laguna is your regular breaker unit, nothing too really special, but he deals a little bit more damage than the last breaker units, such as Axstar, Reagan, Ninja Edge, for example. So he's the better breaker in terms of DPS, as you can see. Most of it stems from his own Imperil, Weapon Imperil, which all the other DPSs are missing. So that's rather good. I would rate Laguna a little bit higher personally than the other breakers, but as you will see in a moment, he still has the same rating. And there's good reason for that. So yeah, Kiros is a decent tag LB chainer to easen up Esther's LB field shenanigans. Laguna, typical trash tier breaker still. The breaks are still bad compared to units such as Cacteria or especially Venera, Lara Croft, Hawkeye. He just can't compare to those, but he does surprisingly decent damage. So all in all, Kiros and Ward, 52.75% of Knights of Grandshield's damage. Laguna is 43.21%, which actually boils down to 4321, which is cool. I just noticed. So yeah, okay-ish units, I guess. So let's check out the verdict for Warrior of Light, and I rated him at a 6 out of 10, which I personally wouldn't do, but it's just how the rating system works. If you were asking me personally, I would probably rate him at 4 or 5, but due to the nature of rating criteria, he's a 6, so let's talk about this. He's a very solid tank regardless, which should net him 1 point. The mod LB increase cooldown is super valuable. For the time being, I don't see any immediate use. However, in light-based teams, where you use units such as Knights of Grandchild, Fina, and the likes, there may be use for him. So that's why I gave him that +1. I might be totally wrong on this, and he may never see the light of day, pun intended, but in the case he does, he's gonna be super valuable, and I didn't want to miss out on this. That's kind of FOMO on rating in this regard. He has an actually decent kit with lots of party support and can deal some chip damage, which both netted him 1 point. He lost a point for the vision card still. Even though I just called it pretty good, he still loses a point because it's less than 110. That's one of the criteria. Any vision card with less than 110 main stat loses a point. So that still applies to Warrior of Light's card. And the other thing I highly dislike is that he's a trans shift tank. Let me just... I can't even check because mine is EX0. But the wiki said it's 4 turns to shift back, so he's a trans shift tank. Or roll shift tank, I don't know which one it is, whether it's roll or trans, but due to the nature of him having to shift down automatically, it should be trans shift. And the other thing, he has no amps or apparel. So all in all, he's a very good tanking choice if you missed out on units such as Stormseeker Esther or Maeve. He isn't as strong as either of them in terms of damage or usability, because both Esther and Maeve do a lot more than Warrior of Light, but he'll get the job done, and if you ever use him with lots of LB finishers or chainers, yeah, he'll be doing a very good job. Now let's check out King of Leonis Mont. So we are going back 1 banner, and I rated him 3 out of 10. And the reason is fairly simple. Let's talk about this bad side of things first. He may have a 20% weapon imperil on single-use Grundis to swords, but 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago I should say by now, we just got Freyevia with a higher 30% sword imperil. So that's why I deducted a point from him. While it's cool that he has that, Esther also, while she is premium, yes I know, she also has a 30% weapon imperil, so yeah. If you're giving a tank a weapon imperil, make sure it's decent, because especially on time-limited units, time-limited units should be worth their weight, especially the price. Like Venera has a 90% break. Why can't Leonis Mont have a 30% sword imperil? Someone tell me. And that's why I deducted a point. He has worse mitigation in Ronda, who is a free unit. That's something to be very, very off, and a worse kit than Warrior of Light. Especially due to the fact that King of Leonis Mont is a super limit burst unit, and super limit burst tanks are bad. And I will die on this hill. He has a bad vision card, his own vision card, the Lex card, different story. And he has no party support outside his super limit burst. The things that are his saving grace, the decent TMR and STMR, and that he actually deals rather surprisingly high damage for a tank. So yeah, if for whatever reason you want to use Mont on a fire team, he'll do decent chip damage, but you will never use him on a fire team. Because in any case you can just use Esther. She also can tank, she also has Omni cover, which Mont doesn't have, and she deals a lot more damage than him. He doesn't provide anything for the teams in terms of damage, instantly power crept by a landslide by Warrior of Light, who we talked about just a few minutes ago. So skipping this unit, totally fine. Next up, Laguna. Like I mentioned, he is rated the same as Reagan, Agstar, etc. I personally would rate him at 4 or 5, but due to the nature of ratings, it's a 3. So let's check it out. The good side of things. He is actually the one unit that has that weapon imperil, which I'm very happy about. 145 water imperil, 35 gun imperil. So after Louise, we don't have to finally use Louise anymore on water teams. Laguna water teams will be decent. And that's partly due to the fact that he has that 35% gun imperil, so Lara Croft can do good things. Because for some reason Lara Croft just doesn't die in this meta. And he has a pretty good STMR, like I said. The bad things, 88% break, single use grounders, single target too. Worse broken in Cacteria with less party support, bad vision card, niche TMR. And he also gets an additional minus for having that stupid type of Grandis with 280% attack stat. Stop doing this, Arlem. It's bad. So yeah, all in all, Laguna is still a mediocre unit. I feel like while he is a great addition to water-based teams, he still fails massively as a debuffer unit. It's a safe skip, but a great off-banner to get. Sadly, and that's why you probably kind of should have him, is for his TMR, because it's super good on Near Vision Awakened Lone Line Squall. And then lastly, we have Kiros and Mont. They are rated at 2 out of 10. Again, 2 out of 10 doesn't necessarily mean that the unit is inherently bad, but more so it means that the unit is super niche and excels at just a single type of thing. And that thing is LB tag chaining. The LB tag chain 300x, it's rather decent, especially for tag chainers these days. So yeah, and the STMR office is superb. It's a dagger, it's a two-handed dagger. Really good, because especially daggers have 1.45x variance baseline. And that's higher than the swords, great swords, or guns, for example. So I like that two-handed dagger a lot. Now all we need is a 30% dagger imperil and we'll be Gucci. But yeah, the bad things, no weapon imperil, bad element imperils, 90% of his kit absolutely does nothing, bad vision card, it's that standard Final Fantasy VIII 100 attack vision card, by the way, has absolutely no party support and you can't convince me otherwise. And we are also adding in a minus for, or a malus for the 280 attack Grandis. So yeah, the reason why Kiros and Mont is a 2 out of 10, he's a one-trick, or they are a one-trick pony with absolutely nothing to offer to others other than some outdated damage. You don't really want to use their lacking tanking abilities, as their base defense is super low. They will instantly die once a boss actually starts hitting hard. So they mainly function as a bridge to not get screwed over by Esther's field effect on her own limit burst. And that's really the only use. And that's why they are a 2 out of 10. Not because their damage is bad, but because that's all they do. They bridge they serve as a bridging factor to Esther Sylvie. And that is it for today. Thank you all for watching. The Merolith review might be coming on Sunday. I haven't even started this yet. I'm recording this on Thursday night, or at Thursday night, by the way, when you're watching this. So, Merolith review Sunday, most likely. And that's gonna be it for this week. I'm not gonna do the boss rush. I haven't done this myself yet. I'd rather spend the time with working on my master's thesis. So. But I do have next week off. Well, not technically the full next week, but Thursday is a public holiday. Next week, Thursday it is. And on Friday, I do have a day of vacation just to bridge that additional day. So I have 4 days off. So the review for the next unit, I know which one it is already. Starts with K. That's all I'm gonna spoil for now. It's going to be a cool unit. And the review is coming Friday as per usual. I'll do also a lot of Clash. But yeah. For this week, look forward to my Merolith review, and that's gonna be it. Thank you all for watching. See you Sunday. Bye bye.